There's a straight-on three, and he rattles it home. Jabari with a second three of the second half. Longhorns have their largest lead of the game. They're up 6, 56-50. Carr on the dribble. At the top of the arc, to the right side. Drives to the right wing, draws a double team. Cross-court pass to Rice. Sends it to Bishop. 10 to shoot. Christian inside, scores off the glass. Noel on the dribble. To the left side with it. Backs it out against Jabari Rice. There's 8 seconds difference between the game and shot clock. Noel with it. Trying to drive around traffic. Goes down the lane. Blocked by Bishop. Pulled down by Allen. Then had it taken away by Johnson. Cross-court pass. 15 seconds to go. Noel had it knocked out of his hands. Longhorns come away with it. They have it with 10 seconds to go. And Rice is knocked to the deck. He'll go to the line to shoot 2 with 9 seconds remaining in the ball game. Here it comes. Inbounded to Noel. 4 seconds. 3 now. They go to Masood. Turnaround 3. That's way off the mark. Rebound. Carr. That's it. This game is over. Texas has come to the octagon of doom and rallied from a 14-point deficit to beat the Kansas State Wildcats. Final score, Texas 69, K-State 66. And then we all got on buses and cars and drove 85 miles east to Lawrence. Game 2 of the Sunflower Swing trip is tonight. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Light the Tower on the Horn, 104.9, 101.9, AM 1260. We're live, local, and digital on the Horn app and at hornfm.com. My name is Craig Way. Jeff Howe will be along shortly. And an outstanding job by our producer, Cameron Parker, on the edit there. We all feel a little bit more normal now with everything that's happened with the bad weather and the power outage and all of those kinds of things. We all do feel a little bit more normal now, even if normal means me on the road, and that's quite a normal thing this time of year. I am with the Longhorn basketball team at their team hotel in Lawrence, Kansas. Tonight they have the big Monday matchup with the Kansas Jayhawks, joined by my co-host, the pride of Northwest Williamson County, a proud graduate of Florence High School, and you know him best for his outstanding work at Horns 24/7 back in the ARN compound, Jeff Howe. Hey, I thought about your friends, your family, your brethren. I know you were down in Hayes County dealing with weather issues. How about it in Northwest Williamson County? Everything all right up there as far as you know?
As far as I know, haven't heard anything going wrong.
Yeah.
I was just, we'll get into this, Craig, as the weeks go by, but post Senior Bowl, everybody's doing updated mock drafts.
Sure.
2 things worry me about this latest mock draft from my friends at CBS. The fact that Bijan Robinson could be there for the Eagles at pick 31 at the end of the first round, that's concerning.
Yeah.
As is, I know you don't get to watch a ton of college football. Neither do I. How is Anthony Richardson a first-round pick, let alone in this mock draft, going 9 overall? Were people watching different Florida games than I was this year?
Listen, my friend, you should know because you dwell by duty in the land of the measurables, and
right.
And I guess that's what a lot of those personnel people are seeing. Measurables and potential, the old dangerous P word, right?
You know what Coach Royal used to say about potential? Means he hadn't done a damn thing yet.
Yeah. Or as Mac Brown used to say, that old potential gets you fired. that kind of thing,
I guess.
as well. Cameron Parker is our producer, and Cam had the yeoman's duty. I got to hear from the perspective of the man who pulled it off. Describe to me, if you will, because I was in transit and I heard different things about how the station was coping with the massive power outage, and Dave Williams, our chief man, to make sure that the lights stay on when possible and running. As I call him DevCon Dave, because he can go into a DevCon situation and try to help us dig out of this deal. But if I understood correctly, Cam, you kind of were the Lone Ranger who stayed in the building overnight one night. I know several of the other guys, Chad did, and other guys did, Ty, But didn't you kind of stick around because somebody physically had to be in there to let people in because of the power outage and the key cards wouldn't work, and you were living in a 40-degree building or something like that? Give me some details on this thing.
Yeah, it was Wednesday night. I stayed over. It felt like The Last of Us. I don't know if you guys have watched that new HBO show with Pedro Pascal. It felt like it, and it was really creepy up here. I've never been in this building alone with no power, no lights, and eventually DEF CON Dave did join because he was in DEF CON 6 mode that night making sure. But yeah, no power, and unfortunately to get into this building, you got to have a couple key cards. The key cards were dead. And someone had to stay up to make sure that Aaron Hogan and Ty Henderson and Bob Cole and Eric Rains could get in Thursday morning. And fortunately, everything went as smooth as it could. It was pretty chilly in here, but fortunately, I had a 0-degree sleeping bag, and we got through the night. Got on the air, most important.
So how? And by the way, DEF CON it works in backwards order. So Dave would have been dealing in DEF CON 0.
That's true.
Because DEF CON 1 is when you're supposed to be at global thermonuclear war, as I remember from War Games, from the movie there, with the great what was the Barry Corbin, the actor. Take us to DEF CON 1. Yeah, that I always remember that. But he was going around with all that. So how did you manage in the dark? What'd you do in the dark?
So Bob Cole, I think, has the largest flashlight on planet Earth tucked away in his studio, and DEF CON Dave found it for me. And we used it throughout the night because we had to make sure the generator was working. There was some dicey times where we thought maybe we wouldn't have any power because the backup generator, fortunately, was keeping 104.9 on the air. And that's how we were on the air for most of Wednesday and most of Thursday, and I think in the Friday even before we got power back. But fortunately, Bob Cole's largest flashlight, it probably is in the Guinness Book of World Records somewhere. And if not, we got to figure out a way to get it in there.
Hey, Craig, the good news is the plumbing worked the whole time, so it wasn't like during the snowpocalypse where it was pancakes stacking up in the bathroom. Everything was it was a lot tidier around here from what I was told.
You make me cringe every time you use that phraseology.
Pancake stacking it up.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't have to if that didn't actually happen.
Yeah. It was doo-doo stack. I know. It was not
Can we
good.
mark that and make that a promo or a drop? Craig saying
right.
Stack. Hey, Craig, speaking of unsavory things, how's your sack, Bursa, or otherwise doing today?
Okay, all right. I'm also a little bit uncomfortable when you just abbreviate it to SAC.
Do you like that?
SAC.
Well, hey, I did say SAC when I texted you. I didn't spell it out SACK.
Yeah.
At least I did that.
Yeah. To review for folks, on Tuesday morning after last week, after the Longhorns win over Baylor on Monday night, I'm going into the station Tuesday morning. That's when the first big wave of that frozen precip had hit. And I was very, very careful to make sure I could make it from Georgetown down to the station, and did, and got out. And when I got out and started walking, my feet went out from under me, and I slipped and I fell. It was no big deal. I landed, as I said, on my most upholstered part of me, so I landed on my butt and got up. No big deal. Went on in.
Craig's rump roast took the brunt of the fall.
Of the first one. And so I get in, and we start the show, and I realized before we started the show, I didn't have my laptop with me because when I was de-icing and defrosting my truck at the house, I had already loaded my backpack. Well, my laptop was sitting out from the work I'd done early that morning, so I put it in my roller bag that I knew I was going to be taking on with me on that Tuesday morning, straight from there to Morgantown, West Virginia, with the Texas women's team. And so we get to the first break, and I said, I got to go get my laptop. I go downstairs to get it, walked over the same exact patch of ice, slipped again and fell again on the rear end. No big deal. Got up, and I'm just kind of like, come on, man, get a grip. So then I get the laptop out, and this time taking care to walk around where I slipped and fell twice. I went a little bit different around the outside and hit another patch. And this time when I went out, I came down on my right elbow, and it hurt. And I was like, okay, well, Cam got me some ibuprofen, and it was no big deal. And I felt better, and I was okay, fine. So we finished the show. I go out to the charter terminal, fly with the Texas women, and my elbow wasn't hurting much, but I could feel a little bit. I get on the plane, and it felt a little weird. And then I looked at it, and I could see it. It was like swelling up like a balloon. And the Rosemary Regal, who's the head athletic trainer for Texas women's basketball, looked at it and said, yeah, that's a bursa sac issue. That's a bursa thing. She said, when we get up there, we'll put some ice on it and some compression wrap and all that. So we did that for a couple of days, and it felt better and felt better. And then starting like by the time I got back after that crazy thing that the Texas women went through, having to fly to Pittsburgh, and then when they came home, they got routed to Houston because of issues and had to bus 2.5 hours. The Texas women, by the way, they really like Buc-ee's. Jeff, they hadn't. Several of the players had never been to a Buc-ee's. Who was it? That was Jacqueline Winnintonda was just mesmerized by it, and
it's one of the greatest places on earth.
Yeah, we stopped at the one. I know you've hit it many times. The one in Waller out there on 290, and so we stopped at that, and they were pulling. They were. A lot of them were dabbling into things. They were hungry, so there was like barbecue sandwiches they were getting, but the others were getting, chips, cookies. There was cookie dough bites, but the most popular item were ices, the frozen drink like the Slurpee, the icy. And Vic Schaefer had said that when he was a kid, he said, I grew up drinking a lot of them ices. And they were, they all seemed to like the icy. So we bus all the way back. Roger Wallace filled in for me on Longhorn Weekly with Rodney Terry because we didn't get back till 7 o'clock, and the show was starting by then. So we do that. I get home. I get up Friday morning to turn right around and go right back to the airport because we had an 11 a.m. Wheels Up time to fly to Manhattan with the Longhorn men. So I get back and my arm was hurting again, and not only that, it had turned about 4 or 5 different shades of purple. And Warren Young, who does an outstanding job as the head athletic trainer for men's basketball, looks at it and goes, yeah, Rosemary's right. That's definitely bursa. And they don't use the word sac, Jeff. They just say bursa. They just go with bursa.
Oh, we're trying to be politically correct now.
They're just saying, no, I mean, it's just bursa. So they said it's bursa. He goes, let me wrap that for you again because I'd taken off the other wraps. They rewrapped it. I've had some more ice treatment since there. It feels a little bit better. It's still ugly to look at right now, so but it's better. So I appreciate you asking. It still hurts a little bit, but it's not that big a deal.
Do I need to go over to the baseball facility and have Coach Pierce get with the equipment staff and dig up one of those Evo Shield elbow guards?
That's funny. Maybe I can get a Barry Bonds, vulcanized rubber elbow guard, something like that.
Yeah, like Ivan and a lot of other guys, we've seen them wear the elbow guard. Well, that thing Bonds had though, that was insanely ridiculous. It had like 19 straps on it, and it was huge.
Yeah, it was body armor. It was definite body armor that he had on. I don't think I'll need quite of that. But anyway,
as we know, Barry was allegedly enhanced in other ways also.
Yes. So anyway, things from there went pretty normal. I flew up to Manhattan with the team on Friday, and they had a practice Friday night. And then, of course, we know about the game Saturday, and we just heard the highlight package on that, and we'll talk more about that. A big, big comeback in the second half. Made some shots, things like that. And then they bust down I-70, some of which a good chunk of it's on the Kansas Turnpike, but the other side of it just comes across the top side and rolls down through Topeka. You've made that drive before, and when I went through downtown Topeka on I-70, Jeff, I looked over at that big tall Ramada Inn, and I said to Dave Garrett, our engineer, I said, "Yep," I said. That's where the team stayed the night before the 20-16 loss to Kansas. I said, I look at that hotel and I think of Charlie Strong rolling right past that, and then
why you got to bring that up, Craig?
It's just it evokes just that one thing. It's the one time I stayed there. I look at that Ramada Inn and I think of the 2016 Kansas game, unfortunately. So we go on we get to Lawrence. We get to the team hotel. They fed the team Saturday night. I think everybody got a good night's sleep. And then yesterday, they went over to Lawrence High School first and got in a practice. Then came back, and then after a mid-afternoon meal, and went over to Allen Fieldhouse, and they were there last night, we all went over to Allen Fieldhouse, and they were working from about 6:30 until 8 o'clock, mainly getting up shots, but working through a few things. And then when it was over, Jeff, they had there was a meal for all of us that was scheduled at a local steakhouse, a restaurant. So because Eddie Orrin and I had driven over, because Eddie had driven up, he's got some other scouting work he has to do after tonight's game. So I rode over, Eddie and I drive over ahead of the buses to the steakhouse. So we get over there, and all the doors and windows are locked and all the lights are off. I said, this place is closed. I said, are they sure they got the right place? This place is closed. So we circle around the parking lot, and then when we come back around, one of the Texas team managers is standing out front. And I rolled down my window. I said, this place looks like it's closed. He said, it is, except for us. And then right about then the buses pulled up, and what they did was they opened the doors, and they had it set up downstairs in a basement area, and that was so they went down and had a team meal, then came back and had more film study. Right now they're at breakfast, but they had some more film session this morning. They have breakfast, and then there will be a study hall for their academic side after the shoot around. So I'm on until right around our first break in the 11 o'clock hour, and then I'll be headed over there so we can get the equipment set up for tonight's broadcast over to Allen Fieldhouse. So that's the travel log for the team, and I did do some checking. It is indeed the first time that Texas has ever had 2 games back-to-back with one of them on the road where one was a Big Monday game. Because you remember this, Jeff, the Big 12 was really particular about this in the early years of Big Monday, that if you were playing a Big Monday game on the road, you had to be at home on Saturday, and vice versa. If you were playing a Big Monday game on the road, you got to be at home on Saturday. If you were playing a Big Monday game on the road, you got at home, then you had to be on the road on Saturday. Well, that's not the case with this. It's back-to-back on the road, although it's 85 miles, and it works out probably just as well. I mean, it's tough to have to go from the Octagon of Doom to the Fog on back-to-back games, but there's not a lot of, getting back and forth on airplanes to do with this. So it's an unusual situation, but it's something that they say they're ready for, and they'll be ready to go tonight.
You know what it is, though? It's a really good primer for the NCAA tournament. I know these guys have been there, but like for a Dylan Mitchell or an Arterio Morris that hasn't, because you'll play a game one day, get the next day off, practice and everything else, and then play, so you get that on split. I think it's just
that's right.
Just a good primer.
Yeah, almost kind of like the off-day news conference too, because Kirk Bowles is on this trip, not with the team. I mean, he traveled independently, of course, but he was at the game Saturday, and then yesterday after the practice at Lawrence High School, Scott McConnell, who handles the media relations for men's basketball, had a little session, if you will, with Rodney Terry, with Kirk, and I think a writer from the Kansas City Star, who were there yesterday. So they had a little sit down with Rodney yesterday. So there was a little bit of like off day media, like, to use your example, what would be used in NCAA tournament play when you have that off day, the off day news conference, if you will, that sort of thing, which I've always thought was kind of interesting, because the first day, and you've covered many NCAA tournaments, you know how it works.
No, this last one was the first one I've covered.
Really?
Yep.
The one up in Milwaukee?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Well, but you know how it works, where pre-tournament news conference, open practice, all of the arena's open, the fans get to come in and watch, and Texas, by the way, and this is thanks to Rob Lazar, who's handled their equipment so expertly over more than 2 decades now. They have it down to where when the Longhorns have an open practice, like all the other teams at an NCAA tournament site, when the practice is over, they throw T-shirts up into the stands to the fans. I mean, a bunch of them. So they've always done that. Sometimes it endears them to fans, other times not. I remember in Little Rock when they did that, some fans took them, but other fans were booing the Longhorns anyway. They wanted Texas to lose, obviously, T-shirts notwithstanding. But so they do this, and they have the press conference and open practice. Then there's the first round. Then the in between the first and second round, there's another news conference. But everything is almost under lock and key. You can go in at a certain time. Boom, there's the news conference, and you go straight back to the media workroom. You can't go out onto the floor. You can't be out there. They've slightly relaxed the rules to allow like broadcast crews, engineers to go in to move their equipment if they're moving from one designated spot to another assigned spot. They can do that, but that's it. It's pretty tightly controlled and on that off day. So, but when you're in the regular season, things are a little bit different. So anyway, and the weather's improved here, and I know the weather's improved there, and I know there's still a lot of people trying to dig out from this. What was it as of yesterday evening? There were still 38,000 people without power.
Yeah,
that's unfortunate. I've got a couple of power related stories for Inconceivable today, and a couple of other things as well. So we got all that coming up. We're going to hear from Rodney Terry. We're going to hear from Christian Bishop following the Longhorns win. We have a Longhorn notebook coming up. We do have Inconceivable, and we get to a lot of other things as well. And Jeff will keep track of what's going on the Specs text line at 337-3776, 512-337-3776. So along with Jeff Howe and Cam Parker, who are in the ARN compound, Craig Way with you up here in Lawrence, Kansas, and this is Light the Tower on the Horn, 104.9, 101.9, AM 1260. We're live, local, and digital on the Horn app and at hornfm.com. One of the great things about audiovisual consultations and what our man Tom McKay can do is he can set up that sound bar that if you hear something like you just heard with Zay, you can quickly change. I kid. We love Zay. But Tom McKay can get you set up with the latest HD TV systems, the latest home theater setup for anywhere from 90 inches up to 150 inches, the latest Sonos sound equipment as well. You don't have to worry about going out in the big box stores to try to shop for that HD TV and all the mounting and the equipment it takes to make it work. Tom and his staff handle all of that. They can do all of that and set it up and make it so easy for you where you don't have to worry about a thing. And here's the other great thing. Tom isn't raising his prices like so many others are. He's always been competitive, if not beating the competition, and he's still doing it today. Check him out online at avconsultations.com and then give Tom a call, 512-255-8678. Let Tom McKay and Audiovisual Consultations help you realize the home entertainment system of your dreams.
I watched him circle around the block. He finally stopped at mine. Took a while before he knocked, like all he had was time.
This is Light the Tower on
Excuse
the
me,
horn.
ma'am, maybe you can
Hey,
help. Directions weren't
Cam,
so
is
clear.
that Bonnie Raitt?
It is. And she won Best Grammy for Best Song or something last night from this single here.
Excellent. I didn't get a chance to see any of the Grammys because of the practice last night and the dinner thing.
Cam, did you say best song or something?
Yeah, something like that.
A song or something.
She won a Grammy. That's all we know.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
You remember,
It's time now.
Craig? You remember
Yes,
that
yes.
World's? You know, Cam just reminded me. Remember that World Series where the Giants won and Madison Bumgarner got presented. I forgot what Chevy vehicle it was, but the Chevy guy's up there talking about this truck, and he goes, "It's got great technology and stuff."
Technology and stuff. That was the All-Star game, wasn't it?
No, that was the
that was
World
shit.
Series.
Oh, I thought that was.
I thought it was the World Series.
I was thinking it was the All-Star game.
I'll
where
look it
it was
up.
a
I'll look it up during the break.
It reminded me of something Chris Farley would have done because the guy almost had a little bit of a resemblance to him. The technology and stuff. Rod and I had a lot of fun with technology and stuff when we were doing the show together back then. Right now, it's time for a Longhorn Notebook. It's a Longhorn Notebook brought to you by Aaron Bowersock, your home loan expert and your Longhorn lender. See if she can do for you what she did for Linda and me, and that was to help get that home loan approval turned around in a snap. She is, after all, the person who can make that 10-day or less home loan approval guarantee. Check her out on the web at bowersockteam.com, BOWERSOCK, bowersockteam.com.
Before we get into talking about Kansas and K-State,
Yes.
Craig, we'll go ahead and hit this audio here. This interview with Rodney Terry.
Eddie made the point at one point in the second half. He says, somebody just now walked in this building, said must have walked into a Big 12 game. Physical, demanding, and what you asked to your guys, boy, did they deliver in the second half.
High-level basketball in a hostile environment. I'd like to give glory to God today for giving us this opportunity, man. We've had some opportunities, and I give our guys credit likewise to come in and get something done on the road. And I just thought, our 2 days of work that we had back home, I thought we really won the game back at home. We counted on our defense in the second half, and it really changed the game.
One thing I thought was important, you called the timeout before the last sequence of the first half. Went down, Jabari gets fouled, hits all 3 free throws, cuts it from 14 to 11. Then you come out on a 12-4 run to start the second half.
That was huge for us. I mean, we didn't play particularly well offensively the first half. We knew that. We knew we were a better offensive team than what we showed. We were kind of standing around, and we didn't move the ball the way we wanted to. But we were at the end of the half, and we brought it in at halftime. We said, hey, guys, we've got to come back. We got to regroup, and we got to put it on our defense. We cut it to 11. Okay, this is going to be a game. This is going to be a possession game down the stretch, and our guys did that. They come out and really put their will on those guys defensively, and it completely changed the game.
Incredible half from CB, and you get Jabari gets his first double-double, and CB gets all 14 of his points and all 6 of his rebounds in the second half.
CB, he really responded well at halftime. At halftime, we put the video. We turned the ball over too many times in the first half as well. I mean, we had 11 turnovers. We watched all our turnovers. I mean, a lot of those were on us, in terms of just, trying to make, tough plays when we shouldn't have. Just make the simple play and make the easy play, and they got a chance to see those. We also saw second chance opportunities with the rebounds. So I thought we cleaned all that up. We really came out in the second half and sat down and guarded, and then we worked our offense. We didn't turn the ball over. We didn't try to make home run plays. We made simple base hits.
Rodney, sometimes offensively when you're not making shots, it doesn't look like you're executing. But I thought you were executing and missing shots, and you didn't panic. You stayed with it the second half, and I thought that was a big difference.
We missed a lot of chippies. I mean, we had a lot around the basket. I think we missed 4 layups. We didn't show those because we knew we'd come back in the second half. We were going to make those in the second half. But no, I thought our guys just hung in there. I said to our guys, one of the best wins I've been a part of because our team, they persevered and were very resilient in the second half and just worked this game, again, in a very tough place to play against a really good team.
I got to believe this will be the most pleasant 85-mile bus trip that you'll ever going down the Kansas Turnpike down to Lawrence. How about to let fans know, since you and I talked at the start of the game about how unusual unusual this 2-game road swing is. You get the first one in the win column, and now you've got a little over 48 hours before you play Kansas at Allen Fieldhouse.
We'd love to be back in Moody right now. Or heading back to Moody. But you know what? This time of year, our guys, and I think everybody in college basketball, you just have to embrace, this time of year. It's February, it's conference play, and everybody's working hard and everybody's trying to compete at a high level. We know we're going to get a really good Kansas team on their home court, well-coached team, and we're going to come out and play and try to get a quick turnaround. Our staff will do a great job having our preparation work for our guys in terms of what we have to do.
Yeah, and they jumped right into it, Jeff. They got on the bus, came down to Lawrence, settled in. They fed the team, and then went right into the video review of K-State and getting ready for the matchup with Kansas and looking at things. And again, this is a very and I've seen it with every Texas coach. Don't get me wrong. Football, basketball, baseball, doesn't matter the sport. But this is a very video study oriented group of coaches. And I've mentioned this on the air before, how when they get on the plane after a road game, and it'll be the case tonight, no matter how late it is, because by the time the team, the game starts at 8 or a little bit after 8, it'll be over a little after 10. They'll be out of there probably around between 11:15 and 11:30. There's a 25-minute bus ride over to Topeka where they get on the charter plane. Probably wheels up around 12:30, and then back in Austin between 1:30 and 2 a.m. Probably wheels down close to 2 a.m. But during that time, I mean, they'll be on the plane. They'll have everything up, and the grad assistants and the video guys. They'll have the cut-ups working on that stuff, and they dive full on in. And we heard Rodney mention there in that interview that they went in at halftime, and he said, we looked at all our turnovers, and so we got to do this. So this is a team, and being a veteran team, as you know, they can probably make adjustments a little quicker, having seen the video on what they need to do than you might other. Because I don't know that you hear an awful lot. I know it happens, but you probably don't hear an awful lot of teams that go in and study film at halftime. Usually it's you're hydrating, and they do that, and then there's some teaching and going over things, and they do that as well. But there's also that video study in the 15 minutes of halftime that they have to make sure they're prepared to go out and make the adjustments they have to make in the second half.
Something that's really stood out, Craig. So this is the third win under Rodney Terry in Big 12 play that Texas has rallied back from a double-digit deficit at one point. They were down double digits to TCU, Tech, and then to K-State on the road. And I think this goes back to something I mentioned after the Baylor game, because if you look in all of those games and the Baylor game, there was a point where they get down or maybe a little bit behind. I know Baylor, they were leading at halftime. But the way this team comes out in the second half, that speaks to exactly what you're talking about. And we've talked about, the job Fireball and the video team does. It's outstanding. And making halftime adjustments and coming out in the second half, playing with your hair on fire to get a couple of quick buckets. But it started for Texas late in the first half, right before halftime, when Jabari Rice initiated contact on that three, got the 3 free throws. When he goes to the line, they're down 14. By the 15:04 mark in the second half, it's a 1-point game. So you're down 14 in the final seconds of the first half. From that point until the 15:04 mark, you outscored them 17-4. So all of that's we talk about all the time, Craig, how you end the half, and then like that first for Texas, it's been like that first 4 to 6 minutes of the second half where they've really, really put a dent either in a deficit or been able to extend a lead in these games.
And we'll hear from Christian Bishop regarding the issue of even getting down in the first half. And we'll hear from him in the next hour talking about that, it's not like they're planning to do it. It's not like they try to do it that way to dig themselves a hole. But for whatever reason, sometimes they're not hitting shots early. I had a flurry of text from people in the first half going, my goodness, what's going on? And I kept saying, there's two things. Missing shots and turnovers. And those are the big deals, missing shots and turnovers. I said, they're going to come back there and have to clean that up. Well, they cleaned up the turnovers, and then shots started falling. And part of the reason shots started falling, obviously, going inside to Bishop, who was scoreless and without a rebound in the first half. You and I had the same amount of points and rebounds as Christian Bishop at halftime.
Yeah.
And then in the second half, he had 14 points and 6 boards, and 5 of those were offensive rebounds. And he just kind of got comfortable, and they started working the ball. They were able to punch holes in the zone and even in man, because K-State alternated between man and zone, and they were able to find alleys and pathways through that. And I thought that was really important.
I want to bring up one thing real quick from Twitter. Remember, Craig, we were talking last week. I talked to Kevin Flaherty, who does a really good job covering national college basketball for us at 24/7. Kevin talks to coaches all over the league, and he said the consensus thing about Texas has been, Big 12 coaches aren't ready to say this team is the best or that team is the best in this league. But what he had heard on Texas was they've been the most consistent team in the league, and this was before the K-State game. So at KSU_fan on Twitter does a really good job of putting together Big 12 statistics for football and basketball. Mm-hmm. And he's breaking it down right now because Oklahoma State's at 500 now. They're at 5-5 in the league. So basically he's breaking it down between the top 7 and the bottom 3. I don't think it takes a brain surgeon to figure out what the bottom 3 is. It's West Virginia, Oklahoma, Texas Tech right now with 3-7, 2-8, 1-9 is their league records. But he makes this take, Craig. He's got this take from the data, and this is exactly what we were talking about. Every top 7 team has had a rough stretch besides Texas, which shows why they're at the top of the league. Kansas State now has lost 3 straight and 4 of 6 in the league. KU has lost 3 straight and now 4 of 5. Iowa State lost 3 of 6 at one point. Baylor lost 3 straight early. Oklahoma State lost 4 of 5 early. So that's every top 7 team in the league has had that. And we talked about it going when this team got ready to go to Manhattan, coming off of the loss in Knoxville. Really, we talked about it the Monday of the Baylor game. Every Big 12 team had gone through that stretch. I felt like if Texas is going to go through it, this is going to be it, with 3 or 4 on the road facing really good teams. And the AP poll comes out at the top of the hour. We'll see where everybody's ranked. But I figured that was going to be the stretch. Craig, at the very worst, they're going to split this stretch. And if you're coming out of this thing at 3-1, man, you set yourself up really, really nice to try to go get you a conference championship in the last half of conference play.
Yeah, because if for no other reason, as you point out, Jeff, they would be through the most difficult part of the road schedule. They still have to go to Waco, and Lubbock is never a guarantee, even if it's difficult as a season as Texas Tech has been. Just ask Iowa State, since they blew a 23-point lead with just over 12 minutes to go there last Wednesday. Still have to go to those 2 places. They still have to play Iowa State at home, but in terms of the road things, and they still have to go to Fort Worth. But in terms of the road situation, they will have been past the biggest, most difficult test: Ames, Manhattan, and Lawrence. They would have, and then even Morgantown's not a bit, and then a sweep of Oklahoma, the state of Oklahoma. So they will have been past the most difficult part of it. But there's still a lot of work to do. We've all talked about how tough this league is on a night-in, night-out basis, and I'm sure we'll see that. And I think most of are you ready for this, Jeff? Here it comes, bracketological prognostications.
There you go.
You like those? Most of those that have come out that have Texas as a 2 seed now. Now I've seen 3, and 3 of them all have Texas as a 2 seed, and I think 2 of the prognostications have the Longhorns playing in Denver in the first round and first and second round, and I think I've also seen what was the other play? Birmingham was the other one that I'd seen.
Actually, I've got an update on that, Craig, because Jerry Palm updated his bracket within the hour.
Excellent.
He's got Texas on the 1 line right now.
Well, he had them at the top of the 2 line going into the weekend, so I guess I'm not surprised by that. I think Joe Lunardi had Texas on the bottom of the 2 line,
mm-hmm.
and Jerry had him at the top of the 2 line. So he's got him as a 1 seed, huh? And playing in where?
Birmingham.
Yeah, just like in 03. Same type deal there.
Jerry Palm's number 1s right now are Purdue, Alabama, Kansas, and Texas.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go. Okay. And again, it's a long, long way to go, but I'll tell you what, you'd rather be in that situation than not. I can remember some years, in some recent years where where I just didn't look at the bracketological prognostication because they weren't good for Texas anyway. So I didn't even bother to look at them right now, and looking at how Joe Lunardi has just updated his, he says the Big 12 is clearly proving itself the best conference in the country. I think we all kind of knew that anyway. And his updated projections still have Texas as a 2 in Denver, playing Eastern Washington, which would be your Big Sky Conference champion. And then if they win that, matching up with the winner of a 7-10 matchup between Missouri and USC. So that's where he does have Oklahoma State in the field, Jeff, in Dayton in the play-in against Nevada in an 11. And he's got West Virginia in the field as an 11. Oklahoma no longer in the field there.
Is that Joe? That's Joe Lunardi's?
That's Joe Lunardi's.
Yeah, Jerry Palm has his first 4. He's got Arkansas, Clemson, Oklahoma State, and West Virginia.
Okay.
And actually Oklahoma not even on the first 4 out for Jerry Palm.
Yeah. So it's tight. He does have Texas A&M in the first 4 out and Oklahoma in the first 4 out. He did. So we'll see how that is going forward. Okay, coming up next, we have Inconceivable. Jeff Howell's in studio, of course, along with Cam Parker, and I'm up here in Lawrence, Kansas, and we'll continue with Light the Tower on the Horn, 104.9, 101.9, AM 1260. We're live, local, and digital on the Horn app and at hornfm.com. Okay, we all know what a difficult time it can be in the greater Austin and Central Texas area with all of the bad weather and the ice storms, and a lot of folks still without power as well. And that's why my friend John Hardy and his great staff at Divided Sky Roofing and Solar were telling you about those Generac generators and the backup batteries that could help you through a difficult time like this, like it was a couple of years ago, certainly. And these winter storms can damage your roof as well as knock out your power. And Divided Sky can help you be prepared for any short or long-term power outages by installing a backup battery or a Generac generator. And the backup batteries come with a 30% federal tax credit. If you have come to the conclusion, the decision, maybe you had tree limbs fall on your roof and you've sustained some damage, he said, the time has come. I'm going to have to file a claim. At least I think I'm going to have to, but I haven't gotten up there on the roof to look at it. Call John Hardy and the staff. They'll come out and give you a free inspection. There's no obligation. They'll let you know what kind of damage you have to your roof and if you can file a claim. And they also carry a full line of solar products, including the Timberline solar shingles. You'll never pay more than your deductible. They offer easy financing. There's no money up front. There's no payment of any kind that's due until the day they start your job. Don't trust your home to a fly-by-night roofing company. Divided Sky is local, and they provide a lifetime warranty on your roof. Give them a call today at 512-995-ROOF or check them out on the web at dividedskyaustin.com. Well, we have a veritable smorgasbord for you, and that is using the term loosely with this first item. Now, Jeff, obviously between the crazy travel, the weather, and the early departure on Friday, I didn't get a chance to catch the program when you were doing Inconceivable on Thursday and Friday. And especially with regards to Friday, did you do the HEB dumpster diving story?
No, I'm trying to think of when that might have been Friday afternoon.
Well, it was
that.
Yeah, it was the story was first posted late Thursday night.
Okay.
So I just wanted to make sure I didn't tread over ground that had
No,
already been trod.
on Fridays I'm so focused on Flaccidity that
yep. I got some of that, by the way.
Slips my mind.
I have some of that since I missed out on it on Friday, but and I'm sure folks heard about this story by now. It belongs in Inconceivable when you think about this. Travis County Constable George Morales had on his Facebook page on Thursday showing baskets of full of food outside of HEB there in Austin, and there were a lot of people thought it was free food and good to eat. Turns out it was not. He was posting, "This is not free food." We had over 250 people fighting in the dumpsters because someone posted free food. The food is rotten and spoiled and unsafe to eat. He added that the deputies and Austin police officers were called in to handle the traffic gridlock around that HEB. It was there on the south end. And I know KI had some video footage of people who are actually dumpster diving. People jumping on top of it and others waiting on the ground with shopping carts. So, according to HEB, the winter storm has a lot to do with this because a lot of the food was just, perishable when the power went out. So, they said to adhere to strict food quality and safety standards, we're required to dispose of certain perishable foods when they're not properly temperature controlled. So, which also prevents us from donating the items to food pantries and food banks as well. So they were doing their due diligence and just dropping out a lot of food that was going to go rotten in the dumpsters, but it was all packaged up. So a lot of folks thought, hey, free food.
You haven't lived until you've worked at a grocery store and eaten expired product.
Yeah.
You never did that, Craig?
Oh, yeah, I have. Two things in the last several months. When I took my son, Jason, back up to college, have him move into another apartment, I went by a Brahms because we know they don't have Brahms in Austin. I went by a Brahms and got a milkshake. And the milkshake tasted funny, and then funny became kind of rancid tasting, and I realized what it was. The milk had to be sour.
Yeah.
So it was awful, and I just tossed it out. I'd already gone. So
when I worked at HEB, I used to like finding yogurt was the big thing. If it was the day past the expiration day, it's like, oh, we got to throw this out. And nope, still tastes good.
Yeah.
We can't sell it, but I'm gonna eat it. Apparently, that's a big no-no that's frowned upon. But I no longer work at HEB, and I'm sure I'm way past the statute of limitations on that. So
yeah. I went down to the team room just to grab a bottle of water last night. This was probably, it was after the team had finished with their film session last night, their video session, and they'd had their late snack and they'd gone on up to bed. I went down just to get a bottle of water, and there's a little kitchen area in this room where the staff from the hotel here prepares like their meals, like breakfast and pregame meal, and I knew that there were soft drinks in there, but more importantly, I was more concerned about, I wanted to get a cold bottle of water. So I open it up, and there's a bottle of water, and I grab it, and then I see there's a bottle of Mountain Dew. There's several bottles of Mountain Dew. Oh, okay, I'll have a Mountain Dew. I hadn't had one of those, and I can't take too much of it. It's too hard on the stomach, but I hadn't had one in a long time. I take it up to the room, because I knew I was going to be up a while working on stuff, so a little jolt of caffeine wouldn't hurt. I take a sip out of it, swallow it, and I thought, that doesn't taste good. That didn't taste like Mountain Dew. And then I looked at it. The expiration date was last November.
Lovely. Yes.
For the Mountain Dew. Poured it out. Then hopefully I diluted the rest with water. No bad, no bad after effects from it, but there was that.
There was a time, Craig, where my life revolved around playing whichever iteration of NCAA football was out on PlayStation 2.
Sure.
And pretty much double fisting Mountain Dew Code Red on some of those all-night PlayStation 2 benders.
You have just described Jason Way's life to a T.
I figured it was something like that.
PS5s and Mountain Dews, that
got to be the Code Red. You got to go Code Red. When
it was Code Red. That's what he would
Yep.
do. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yep. Yeah, he could do that. Speaking of After Effects, did you hear about this business at Colorado State with a basketball game? Colorado State, Utah State. Did you hear about this?
There's been so many basketball-related inconceivables that have flown by me. I might have missed this one.
Well, unfortunately, this had nothing to do with basketball other than the fact that it was at a basketball game. Utah State has a player named Max Shulga. He's from Ukraine. And, of course, Ukraine, we know, is in the ongoing war with Russia.
Please don't tell me this is going where I think it is.
Well, he hit some free throws in the final minute to help Utah State get the win. He finished with 9 points and 6 victories. But during the game, Colorado State fans, for whatever reason, felt it necessary to chant at him the word Russia.
Oh, my gosh.
They just kept chanting Russia, Russia. Colorado State then tweeted out, so following tonight's basketball game, we became aware that a small group of individuals in our student section chanted Russia at a student athlete from Utah State who's from the Ukraine. On behalf of Colorado State, we apologize to the student athlete. This is a violation of our steadfast belief in the Mountain West sportsmanship policy and university principles of community. Every participant, student, and fan should feel welcome in our venues. And for something like this to have occurred is unacceptable at Colorado State. So that's ridiculous. And his family resides in the Utah area as well. So it's first, like, did you guys know he's from the Ukraine? And did you have that confused, or were you just trying to say Russia because they were at war with you? Either way, it's wrong.
Either way, it's
bad
awful
and dumb. So yeah, there's that. All right, I told you that I had to do a little bit of catch up flaccidity with you there. Because I wasn't there on Friday for the Florida Man stuff. But I got to ask you, did you get to the story about the man with the python? Yes. Where he bit off the head?
Yep.
So here's my question about this. The woman screams, just kicked the door in to the cops. They come in, and this guy was like, was holding her against her will, and he struck an officer in the face with his arm, which had a handcuff on it.
Mm-hmm.
But
fought off
during
the taser.
the argument,
Fought off the taser too.
He got tased.
Yep.
And then fought off all of that stuff, and and after he had bitten off the head of a pet python, right?
Yes.
Is that how that goes?
Yeah.
Okay. If he's a pet, why feel the need to bite the head off? That's what I was.
Because it was her pet.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
All I saw in the one story I saw said a pet python.
It was her python.
Okay. All right. Wow, that's bad. That's bad. And now they did say that, as you saw, the pythons don't have venom glands, so they're not poisonous.
Right, but still, you
know, yeah. It said it would have had to have been a relatively small python, or he wouldn't have been able to get it all into his mouth.
Jeez.
So here's this dude, Mayorga, being charged with, I like this, animal cruelty with intent to kill, false imprisonment, and resisting arrest. He's kind of run the gamut there. He's kind of checked all the boxes on that.
Man, on the Florida Man bingo card, he's almost got himself a bingo.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. So I'm glad you got to it in its proper time and place when you go to the most flaccid.
Yes, sir.
Of the 48 contiguous United States. All right. We have the second hour of the program going. I'm going to be on for the next 20, 25 minutes or so before I have to head over to Allen Fieldhouse for the setup for the broadcast. But we will be back with hour number 2 of Light the Tower coming your way here On the Horn, 1049, 1019, AM 1260. Yes, we're happy that we're back on and well and power in the building and live and well and all that here with Light the Tower coming your way here on the Horn. Also on the Horn app and at hornfm.com. Well, we've just come through, obviously, that rough bout with the winter weather, and there's a lot of cleanup and getting your home and your yard and your trees and all that stuff healthy again. What about you? What about you guys? How about are you feeling healthier? Are you making those plans and taking those efforts for a healthier you? Well, you can book an annual wellness appointment today with Total Men's Primary Care and establish some baseline goals for this year. I mean, if you're tipping the scales in the 250 to 300 range and you want to get down below that, Total Men's Primary Care can help you stay healthy through a combination of coaching and diet. You can not only stay healthy, you can help determine a game plan that's built just for you. Taking care of your health really has never been easier. Go to TotalMens.com. You'll see a big yellow button where it says book an appointment. You click on that, and you can book an appointment for any of the 20-plus Austin area locations to get that wellness appointment taken care of. It's Total Men's Primary Care, the doctor's office just for men. Second hour of Light the Tower on the horn. Craig Way and Jeff Howe. Cameron Park, our producer, alongside as well. We're with you up until noon, and Chad and Zay will bring you their version of the world coming up at noon. Just got a text from the missus, and Jeff, it's still happening. We just lost power at our house. Go figure.
At your place?
Yeah. Now, we had one power loss on Wednesday night when I was in Morgantown when everybody was losing power. And it was out for about an hour and a half. And then it got turned back on. And hadn't had any problem with it since until just moments ago. Linda just texted me and said our power just went out. I have to believe that's power crews working on power lines and moving branches and limbs, and maybe something hit something and knock something out. So hopefully that won't be long, but yeah, it's still going. So, and I know there's a lot of people who have been out without power for several days. Rodney Terry has not, as of I think yesterday, he still had no power at his home since Wednesday. And he said there was a big tree branch that had fallen on his roof. He said, I'm going to have to deal with it when I get back. Can't worry about it right now. So that's where that is.
By the way, everybody, listeners, the text line did that thing where it doesn't automatically refresh, so we got about an hour's worth of texts to get through here.
There you go. So you'll catch up.
Craig Woodworker did want to let you know. He said, "Sorry to hear Craig busted his sack open." So
yeah. You knew that was
a lot of great sack jokes today. A lot of great sack jokes.
Yeah. There'd be some of that there.
Hey, Craig,
bruising of the sack, discoloration of the sack. We heard him. Yeah. Understand.
Enlarged sack.
Large sack, wrapped up sack, all that kind of stuff. Yep.
Before we get to this Christian Bishop interview, actually, you know what? Since Cameron brought it to my attention that it was out, we're gonna let, as Aaron Hogan calls him, Colonel Cam Parker, run down the latest AP poll, which is out.
Yeah. First of all, let me say before he does that, I'm not real comfortable with that Colonel Parker thing. You know,
why?
I guess. Well. First of all, Cam Parker is nothing like Colonel Parker. So, the one of Elvis fame. I think he's established his own footprint as well, but that's okay. So Cam, you have the latest AP Top 25 poll.
I just realized why Aaron was calling me that. I was like, where did Colonel Parker come from? Ah, yes, of course,
Elvis's manager. Yeah.
I thought about Colonel Robert Parker, the old wrestling manager. He wore like the Colonel Sanders outfit, yeah.
Yeah.
With a new top 5.
Another reason why I'm not as comfortable with it. Another reason why. So you were saying, Cam.
So Purdue stays at number 1, and then Tennessee, after their loss, they drop to 6. So that means Houston, Alabama, Arizona move up 1 spot each. But now the Texas Longhorns are a top 5 team coming in at number 5 in the latest AP poll. Kansas dropped down to 9. And Shaka Smart's Marquette is up to number 10.
How about that? Okay, so Texas is 5. Kansas is 9. You said Marquette's 10. Where's Iowa State?
Iowa State's at 11. They're up 2 spots. Kansas State dropped down to 12. Baylor dropped down to 14. TCU dropped down to 17. Those are all your Big 12 schools in the latest top 25.
Wow.
So how about this, Craig? Rodney Terry, Rick Barnes, Shaka Smart, all coaching top 10 teams in the country right now.
How about that? That's quite intriguing to consider. So, so the Longhorns will be at number 5 going. Of course, that'll be more fuel for the fire, more grist for the mill for the Jayhawks, who are at number 9. So it is a top 10 matchup. The Longhorns will have back-to-back road top 10 matchups. And what is it? No, because Baylor wasn't a top 10.
Baylor was 11.
11 when they played last week. So 3 consecutive games involving 2 teams inside of the top 11 ranked teams in the country, and now back-to-back top 10 road matchups for Texas, as they were, of course, playing at number 7 K-State when they were number 10, and now at number 5 playing at number 9 Kansas. But you know what? As we said, that's life in the Big 12, Jeff, because there's going to be some beating up going on a game-in, game-out basis. And that's why it goes back to what we were talking about last hour. If they can somehow find a way to pull off this Sunflower sweep, it would be enormous for them based on not that the closing schedule's easy, but they will have at least gone through the most difficult part of the road schedule. They still have Iowa State at home. They still have to go to Waco. They still have to deal with Lubbock. Like I said, they have Iowa State at home. They have West Virginia coming in this Saturday. They have Oklahoma at home. And, of course, they have Kansas at home to close out the regular season. So they still have those games still to come. But if they're able to get past this hurdle and be 9-2 with 7 games to go and most of the most difficult road tests behind them, then that's a huge plus for them down the stretch of this Big 12 race.
Splits and sweeps, Craig. Like I talked about last week, that's how you got to look at it. Like if you're Texas, you salvage a split with K-State. Each team won on the other team's floor. If you beat Kansas tonight, now you can start thinking about a sweep. You've already done half of that with Baylor, Texas Tech, and Oklahoma. And of those 3, you really need Oklahoma because that's a home game. So take care of business in your home game, sweep what you can, split where you can, and as long as you don't have a series where you get swept, you should be in the mix for this thing going into the final week.
That's where they stand with Iowa State. They'll need to have that home win against Iowa State, and as you pointed out, all those other ones, and they already have a sweep in their pocket of Oklahoma State, and Oklahoma State's starting to play better now.
Yep.
So, and they have Musa Cisse back in the lineup as well. So, by the way. And I know you noticed it, who's returned for Baylor. They got Jonathan Chamwa-Chachua back.
Can't believe that.
Yeah,
Unreal.
He's back. Yeah, so they're going to have to deal with that in Waco when they play them. But they come off the win against Kansas State on Saturday after the game. Christian Bishop came out to join us courtside to visit about this, and it was such a stark difference between the first half and the second half for him personally and for the team collectively.
So we mentioned Christian Bishop had this monster second half where he scored all 14 of his points and got all 6 of his rebounds in the first half. In the second half of this game. CB's with us now. I got to believe it's not that you're trying to do it that way on purpose, is it? There's just more of an intensity level for you, isn't there?
Yeah, no doubt. Really shaky first half for me. I started out slow. I couldn't really get my rhythm. I kind of been struggling the last couple games, and so I just feel like I need to see one go in. That's why I missed a couple in the first, but, it's all right. Second half rolled around. I got a couple to go in. I started having fun with it again. And just my teammates believed in me, and they kept giving me the ball. So it was nice to have that opportunity and be able to produce for the team.
Well, there were a lot of shots by not only by you but by your teammates. There were 4 right under the rim. How difficult is it to overcome something like that and not allow it to get in your head mentally when you're having really good opportunities and the shots just aren't falling?
Yeah, with a veteran team like this, you can't make every single shot. It is what it is, but we're able to adjust to that and just keep playing through it all.
Christian, we talk as the game went on how you were working early. How important is it to work early, and tell the folks what I mean by working early offensively to establish position?
Yeah, I mean, my job is to run to the rim every single time in post, and so it's really tough for defense to adjust, especially when I'm faster than the other bigs, and so it puts me in the right situation where I always have some type of positioning, and then my teammates find me from there. So really all credit to them. I just go down there and stand under the basket.
Hey, take us through that sequence where you knocked the ball out of Noel's hands, what you saw coming, and then you were able to flick it out loose there, up a point there in the last 10 seconds of the game.
Yeah, we were just kind of in a panic. We were flying around. I got caught on him, and I haven't guarded him all game. And I know, a guy like that's not used to anybody trying to back tap him. And so I was able to give him a little taste of his own medicine and get the ball. I got lucky enough to actually get the ball. I could have easily missed. He could have scored, but we got the ball and we were able to produce, so it was good for us.
It's an 85-mile bus trip down the turnpike to Lawrence, so it's a pretty nice ride after a game like this, isn't it?
Yeah, no doubt. We're going to have some fun on the bus and then just get ready for our next game because it's a big one.
Yeah, a big one indeed, and a pretty enjoyable bus ride down I-70. So, and he's going to have to be a big factor tonight, as they all will, Jeff, with what they're having to deal with Kansas. And I don't want to say that Kansas is a desperate team, but they have lost 4 of their last 6. And the 2 they won, the 2 games that they won were at Kentucky and the home game against Kansas State.
Mm-hmm.
But then Iowa State largely dominated that game Saturday in Ames against KU.
Depending on what the game looks like, how the rest. I mean, this is going to be one data point in a season full of data points. Keep an eye on your Big 12 Player of the Year race tonight, because between Jalen Wilson and Marcus Carr, you've got 2 guys that are what, Craig, probably the 4 or 5 guys legitimately in that conversation right now?
Sure, absolutely. And Wilson's leading the league in scoring and rebounding, so I think he's going to probably have – but it'll depend on how he and the Jayhawks, I think, finish out the season. By the way, I can tell you this. My vote for the Big 12 Newcomer of the Week went to none other than Sir-Jabari Rice, who had a couple of really big games and comes off his first Longhorn double-double. He was one player nominated. His numbers just kind of stood out and alone and apart from the rest of the nominees for Big 12 Newcomer. Now, Big 12 Player of the Week, really, really close among a lot of guys. And but for Big 12 Newcomer of the Week, it was almost a no-brainer that Jabari was and it hadn't come out yet, but I think the awards will probably come out pretty soon, and I'd be surprised if he's not Big 12 Newcomer of the Week when all is said and done. All right, I'm getting ready to head over to Allen Fieldhouse for the setup there and get ready for this. And I know, what do you got coming up on the notebook?
We're going to do a little bit of NFL draft stuff. I know I talked about that at the top, but
yep.
We'll get into a little bit of that. Also, our flex update coming up next, too.
Okay, we'll do that. That's coming up next. And Jeff will take you through the rest of the program. Of course, I'll be on the air with Eddie Orton tonight at 7:30 with the airtime. The tip. Oh, one other thing I want to mention. Tomorrow is the first of our 3 shows that we have with Vic Schaefer out at Pluckers. And if everything works out, the show will air on 105.3 The Bat as they work through some technical things there. But we are doing the show there tomorrow with Vic, and I think we're going to have Rory Harmon and Shay Holly out there with us tomorrow at 6:30. It's a 6:30 start time. And so we've got a special edition of Longhorn Weekly with Vic Schaefer from Pluckers, the West Campus location. And one other Texas women's basketball note is they come off the big win here in Kansas on Saturday, and they are still on top of first place in the Big 12 standings. They'll host Texas Tech on Wednesday night at Moody Center. Vic Schaefer has some luncheons coming up where folks can go, and the first one was originally scheduled for tomorrow, but it's been moved back to Thursday. So that'll be Thursday where fans are invited. You can go online to texasports.com, and you can see the information there if you're interested in going to hear from Vic and the players on Thursday with a Texas women's basketball luncheon. That'll be on Thursday, but tomorrow evening at Pluckers. Lots of eating and hoop talk with Vic. So that's over the next couple of days. All right, up next, Jeff will take you the rest of the way as we continue with Light the Tower on the Horn, 104.9, 101.9, AM 1260. We're live, local, and digital on the Horn app and at hornfm.com.